Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the news at 6 this Friday evening here on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tracy Shilshi and here are the headlines. Supreme Court stays till the 27th of April. The Uttarakhand High Court's verdict quashing President's rule in the state also records undertaking that the centre will not revoke presidential proclamation till the next date of hearing. Met Department warns that 2016 will be the hottest year India has ever seen. The scorching temperatures are being caused by the El Niño phenomena that could turn neutral in the coming months. But it's a landslide in Tawang district of Arunachal Pradesh that kills at least 16 people. Victims were all construction workers who were inside their camp when the tragedy struck. And India upsets China by granting visa to World Uyghur Congress leader Dolkun Isa. Decision comes days after Beijing blocks the proposed ban on Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar at the UN. Let's start with the developments over the Uttarakhand row. In a partial relief to the Modi government, the Supreme Court today stayed the Uttarakhand High Court's verdict, quashing President's rule in the state. Yesterday, the High Court's judgment will be kept on hold till the next date of the hearing, which will be the 27th of April. The Apex Court also clarified that the stay was a measure of balance for both the parties, as the copy of the verdict was not made available to the parties. Before passing a brief order, though, the court also recorded an undertaking that the centre shall not revoke the presidential proclamation till the next date of hearing.
A day after the setback in the High Court, the centre on Friday moving the Supreme Court on the order revoking President's rule in Uttarakhand. The Apex Court stayed the High Court's order till 27th of April.
The matter was heard today. The Supreme Court, after a detailed hearing, has suspended the operation of the judgment of the High Court. The High Court judgment had set aside the proclamation. This means the proclamation revives and the governor's rule revives currently. The Chief Minister will have no power or jurisdiction to work any further till further orders are passed by the Supreme Court on 27th. That is the effect of the judgment.
The decision to approach the Supreme Court was taken after a meeting of BJP leaders that's in the opposition in Uttarakhand. Thereafter, Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi sought an urgent hearing from the Supreme Court.
It was pointed out by the Attorney General, Mr. Mukul Rohatgi, that an urgent hearing is required because here is a situation that an order has been dictated in the court, in the High Court in Uttarakhand. That order is not available with anybody, and that order is now moving towards implementation. So therefore it needs to be heard urgently, and particularly with regard to an application for interim relief in terms of a stay.
The Supreme Court posted the next hearing on the matter on 27th of April. President's rule was imposed in Uttarakhand on March 27th after 9 legislators of its ruling Congress party rebelled against the leadership of Chief Minister Harish Rawat.
There was no way other than pre-56, Assembly is not dissolved. Assembly is not dissolved. SR Bombay case spirit has been kept in mind because there was a constitutional breakdown, temporary president rule has been imposed. And any time the assembly can be revived also.
The central government recommended the imposition of president's rule in the state after an emergency meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 26th of March. It received the formal nod from President Pranab Mukherjee on March 27th, but stating that even the president can be wrong, the High Court bench of Chief Justice K.M. Joseph and Justice V.K. Bisht observed that it would be a travesty of justice if the centre revoked its order imposing president's rule in the state and allowed someone else to form a government before it gave the verdict.
Central government has been behaving like the slayer of democracy, the butcher of institutions, and the murderer of any thought which is contrary to what their idea of India is. So therefore, after receiving this very severe reprimand from the Uttarakhand High Court, the central government would be well advised not to pursue with this adventure any further and let things be decided on the floor of the House as is constitutionally mandated.
The issue came to the division bench of Uttarakhand High Court after a single judge ordered a floor test on 28th of March. This was after a controversy broke out over the passage of appropriation bill on 18th of March, with the BJP and dissident Congress MLAs claiming that the money bill had fallen and the government has lost its majority. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
We'll keep an eye out on developments there. Meanwhile, reports of a tragic incident from Arunachal Pradesh. A landslide killed at least 16 people in Tawang district early Friday morning. All of them were construction workers and were inside their camp at the time of the incident. Their bodies have now been pulled out by rescue teams. Here's a report.
While large parts of North and South India reel under an intense heat wave, the northeastern state of Arunachal Pradesh is facing a flood-like situation. Heavy rainfall in the past few days has wreaked havoc in parts of the state, especially in Tawang district. A massive landslide in the wee hours of Friday took away more than a dozen lives, all of them construction workers. At the time of the mishap, the workers were inside their camp, so caught unawares. Their bodies were pulled out of the debris in a joint operation carried out by the army, civil administration, police and locals. The landslide also damaged residential buildings in the area. The main road also remained blocked due to the ongoing rescue operations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has condoled the deaths in the labour camp. Home Minister Rajnath Singh called up Arunachal CM Kaliko Pul and took stock of the situation. He assured full central assistance to the state to tackle the flood situation. Incessant rainfall in several districts of the state, inundating fresh areas besides damaging several flood protection embankments. 2 hydel projects have also been severely damaged. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
That cyclonic circulation will bring rain to the entire of the northeast region, especially Assam and Meghalaya. But for the rest of the country, 2016 could be the hottest year of the century. The Ministry of Earth Sciences say that the northwest and southwest India are reeling under intense heatwave conditions, with scores of people dying of sunstroke.
2016 could be the hottest year India has ever seen, is the Meteorological Department's latest warning. It came on a day of scorching temperatures all across the country. The Met Department claimed that the hot temperatures were caused by El Nino phenomena that is likely to become neutral in the coming months.
समर सीजन में तापमान जब तक नहीं गिरते हैं जब तक कि या तो ठंडी इलाकों से हवाएं ना आए या थंडरस्टॉर्म या बारिश ना हो। अब हुआ क्या है कि पिछले लगभग 2 से 3 सप्ताह के दौरान देश के ज़्यादातर जो मैदानी राज्य हैं वहाँ कोई डस्टॉर्म थंडरस्टॉर्म या बारिश नहीं हुई है। क्लियर स्काई कंडीशंस बनी हुई हैं। एक तो ये लोकल कारण है जिसकी वजह से तापमान बढ़े हुए हैं। दूसरा जो ग्लोबल रीजन्स हैं एल नीनो की कंडीशन अभी भी बनी हुई है तो उसका प्रभाव भी कहीं ना कहीं एक पूरे एरिया या पूरे रीजन के ऊपर पड़ा हुआ है कि तापमान नॉर्मल से ज़्यादा है।
Meanwhile, Odisha continued to swelter under the heat wave, registering the season's highest temperature of 47 degrees Celsius at Titlagarh. Jharkhand's Jamshedpur district sweltered under 45.6 degrees Celsius. Uttar Pradesh also experienced scorching heat with the mercury touching 45.3 degrees Celsius in Allahabad. Maximum temperatures continue to hover above normal in most places in Haryana and Punjab. Hisar recorded a maximum temperature of 40 degrees Celsius. In western Maharashtra, Vidarbha saw severe heat conditions. Chandrapur was the hottest at 45.6 degrees Celsius. Temperatures, however, dropped marginally in Delhi and some other parts of northern region in the wake of a fresh western disturbance.
रोड पे चलना इतना मुश्किल हो गया है। 42 डिग्री तापमान है। रोड पे देखिए आप कितनी सन्नाटे हैं, जबकि रोड पे बहुत भीड़ रहती है और इस टाइम देखिए रोड पे निकलना एकदम बहुत मुश्किल हो गया है।
गर्मी बहुत बढ़ती जा रही है, पानी की तकलीफें तो है ही है और गर्मी के वजह से लोगों को बहुत तकलीफ हो रही है। 44 क्रॉस कर चुका है ऑलरेडी। अभी अप्रैल में ये हाल है तो पता नहीं मई कैसे निकलेगा।
40 के ऊपर पारा चला गया है। आप देखोगे तो रोड पूरे खाली है और हमें भी काफी तकलीफ हो रही है। घर से बाहर निकलने की इच्छा नहीं होती है।
Globally too, the year is expected to be the hottest. United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has termed March 16 as the hottest March so far. The agency also said that for 2016, global average temperature was 2.07 degrees Fahrenheit above the 20th century average. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
While Odisha remains the hottest state, the Marathwada region in Maharashtra remains the worst hit as far as drought is concerned, and the administration is taking all possible steps to overcome the water crisis in the region. It has engaged about 3,000 tankers to supply water to 8 districts, but that hasn't prevented the villagers from waging a daily struggle for water. a struggle that has changed the daily routine of women and children there.
It's 10 p.m. and yet with pitchers in hand, these women are not ready to give up their search for drinking water. At the Sant Kabir Nagar locality in Beed's Ambajogai area, women workers walk for miles to get water. This is the constituency that late Gopinath Munde used to represent in the Maharashtra Assembly. These days, tankers do bring water, but distribution is fraught with discrimination.
एक एक दो दो किलोमीटर जाना पड़ता है पानी के वास्ते और दर दर घूमते हैं तो भी फिर हमको पानी कोई देता नहीं। हर एक घर को हम पहुंचते हैं पानी दो लेकिन कोई एक घड़ा भर के नहीं देता है साफ पानी।
The indifferent availability of water has changed the routine of the poor, be it children, elderly or women. Without exception, they all travel long distances in search of water. After coming from work, women get busy queuing up for water. Children also join these long lines after coming home from schools.
यहाँ 5 साल से पूरा सूखा चल रहा है और ये 5 साल में खेती का कुछ अनाज भी नहीं होता है, लेकिन सब गांव में सब 99% मजदूर है। शहर 10-12 किलोमीटर है तो सब लोग जाके अपना पेट बाल बच्चे के वास्ते सब जाके काम धंधा करके आते हैं और पीने का पानी का इतना प्रॉब्लम है।
Most of the water sources in the city and the surrounding countryside have dried up. The little water that is available is also polluted. Everywhere there is a fight against nature to dredge water from great depths. But the situation is so bad that farmers are forced to seek labor in far-off places. The Beed district administration has been extremely dynamic and has taken several steps to respond to the crisis. But the discrimination in distribution is clearly evident from these women with their empty pitchers. Arvind Kumar Singh's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's get you all the election-related news in our segment Verdict 2016. The formal process leading up to the Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry Assembly elections started today. Many prominent candidates from the main front submitted their nomination papers for the first day. The nomination papers will be accepted up to 3 p.m. on the 29th of April, and scrutiny, of course, will be held on the 30th of April. Now, while candidates can withdraw nominations up to the 2nd of May, an election commission statement said that no nominations can be filed tomorrow, which is a bank holiday, or the day after, which of course happens to be Sunday. 2 left activists were killed in post-poll violence in West Bengal's Burdwan district. Armed men beat up the victims with lathis and iron rods on Thursday night, in fact, in Lotna village in Khandagosh Assembly constituency while returning home after polling duty. Trinamool Congress party workers are suspected to have led the attack. So far, 3 left activists have been killed since Thursday, after one person was killed in Murshidabad in the 3rd phase of the state assembly polls.
It's not a clash, it's an attack, deliberate attack to fulfill the wish of the Chief Minister, just to reinforce the reign of terror which they were perpetrating for last 3-4 years. Whatever they planned to rig the election or to just ransack the polling thing, they could not. So naturally, immediately after the election, they have mounted attack, not only in Bardhaman but in several parts of the states.
Trinamool Congress is getting desperate and they are violent. They know that they can affect the electoral process only by violence. So therefore they are resorting to loot, murder and arson.
तृणमूल कांग्रेस सोचे थे बहुत रिगिंग करेंगे, छप्पा चलाएंगे, लेकिन चुनाव आयोग ने इतना कड़ाई से चुनाव कराया जो उन्होंने बूथ का आसपास तक जा नहीं पाया। इसी का हताशा से उन्होंने गुंडागर्दी शुरू की और चुनाव का बाद भी शुरू किए, चुनाव का समय भी अनावश्यक बात लेके शुरू किए।
And now let's get you all the national news updates in Nationwide. The Indian Army has taken an operation to demine the border areas in Kashmir due to alarm over the recent landmine blast near the line of control. The Army carried out demining operations in Nowshera town in Rajouri district on Thursday. Braving the blazing heat, a multitude of sadhus and the disciples took the Shahi Snan at Ramghat in Shipra River on Friday. on the opening day of the month-long Simhastra Kumbh Mela. For the first time, the Kumbh Mela will see the participation of transgenders who've put up an akhara and announced that they will take a holy dip on the 9th of May. The Uttar Pradesh government has taken back the 25,000-acre land which had been allotted to the JP Group to set up a cement factory in Sonbhadra district. The land was allotted in 1980. The Supreme Court had recently sought a reply from the concerned authorities after UP Forest Department made an objection over the land allotment, claiming that the company was carrying out illegal mining in the region. With that, we'll take a quick break here. More news follows in a bit. Stay with us.
My research sort of speciality is essentially signal processing. For a person who works on this multi-detector sort of strategy, I think having detected in India is fantastic. I'm more excited is to see this kind of a system which we never expected.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Archana Pai, Assistant Professor, IISA Thiruvananthapuram, only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. Let's get you some more news now. And this is something that's irking China, and this is a move by India. It, in fact, has granted visa to World Uyghur Congress leader Dolkun Isa for a visit to the country, and it has irked China. China, in fact, expressed concern over Dolkun Isa's reported visit to India, claiming that he is a terrorist on Interpol's Red Corner notice and is the obligation of all countries to bring him to justice. However, India's decision to permit WC leaders whom China regarded as backers of terrorism in its volatile Muslim-dominated Xinjiang province is reported to be in response to Beijing's blocking a ban on Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar at the UN. WUC leaders are expected to attend a conference, in fact, on democracy and China in Dharamshala during their visit. The death toll from a petrochemical plant explosion in southeastern Mexico has risen to 24. The toll was raised from the 13 fatalities previously known. 19 people remain hospitalized and 13 of them in serious condition. Early in the day, desperate relatives gathered outside the petrochemical plant on Mexico's southern Gulf Coast, hoping for news about loved ones still unaccounted for. The blast forced evacuations of nearby areas as it sent a toxic-filled cloud billowing into the air, injuring more than 100 workers. It is the latest in a series of incidents at Pemex. In February, a worker was killed in a fire in the same factory, while more than 60 people have died in two separate incidents on company premises in the past 4 years.
Los familiares de las personas que lamentablemente perdieran la vida en este muy trágico accidente ocurrido en Coatzacoalcos, Veracruz, en la planta de Pajaritos. Sin duda, este incidente ha causado pena y dolor en muchas familias, en personas que hoy están lesionados, y desde aquí acompaño a todas las familias que pasan por un momento de pena y de dolor con nuestra mayor solidaridad.
In more international news, Volkswagen and the US Justice Department have reached a deal in principle to address excess diesel emissions in nearly 600,000 polluting vehicles. Details of the preliminary agreement were announced in a California court. As part of the deal, Volkswagen will offer substantial compensation and car buyback deals in the US. It will also include an environmental remediation fund to address excess emissions. The settlement is a major step towards the German automaker's efforts to move past the issue that first came to light last September when the company admitted using sophisticated secret software in its cars to cheat exhaust emissions tests. The revelations unleashed a scandal dubbed Dieselgate in the media. Analysts say that Volkswagen may have to spend more than $10 billion to comply with the US agreement. The deal is expected to settle more than 600 class action civil suits filed in US courts.
We're working really hard to try to get this resolved and to try to put this behind the company, and that's what we're focused on right now.
I think that Volkswagen owners are going to have to wait and see, I think.
I hope they'll be pleased with what they see ultimately, but they'll get a chance to review it. And as the judge indicated, once they have a chance to review the final document, he's going to listen to all points of view before he approves it.
We're disappointed. We paid for the thing in full, and we feel like it's not of any value anymore. And we want Volkswagen to buy our car back.
And now let's get you some more international news updates in Global Buzz. US President Barack Obama arrived in Britain to urge the country not to vote for Britain's exit from Europe. British voters will decide in a June 23rd referendum whether to remain in the EU or leave. Obama has raised concern that the British exit could weaken the West. He also said that Britain's EU membership makes the world freer, richer, and better able to tackle everything from Russian aggression to terrorism. Talks aimed at ending Yemen's civil war kicked off in Kuwait. Kuwait's foreign minister urged both sides to turn the war on peace and backwardness into development. UN-sponsored talks brought together the Houthi group and its General People's Congress Party allies with the Saudi-backed government of President Abu Rabd Mansour Hadi. The talks, in fact, are based on UN Security Council Resolution 2016, which calls for the Houthis to withdraw from areas that they seized since 2014. The year-long contract in Yemen has in fact killed over 6,200 people so far. The death toll from the 7.8 magnitude in Ecuador that hit last week has climbed to 587. The dead also include 27 foreigners. The number of injured stands at 5,733, with 163 reported missing. Rescue operation is underway, but life is hard for the locals as power and water supply has been cut off in places near the epicenter. 2 people were killed when part of a new cycle lane collapsed under crashing ocean waves in the Olympic city of Rio de Janeiro. The incident occurred just hours after the Olympic torch was lit in Greece. The 50-meter-long lane that collapsed skirted the Atlantic coast, and it was part of more than 3-kilometer-long cycle lane opened in January in an urban regeneration project to spruce up the city for the Olympics. And with that, let's head to some sports news. And starting with cricket, the Mumbai Cricket Association today moved Supreme Court against the Bombay High Court order to shift IPL matches out of Maharashtra owing to the water crisis. The Cricket Association in its petition said that it will use treated sewage water for cricket pitches instead of potable water. Representing the MCA, Kapil Sibal told the Apex Court that it's not against the suffering people of Marathwada reeling under drought. The board also demanded that its plea of moving IPL matches out of Maharashtra should be heard by the Supreme Court on the 25th of April. Earlier, the Bombay High Court on the 13th of April had ordered the shifting of IPL matches scheduled in Maharashtra to another state after the 30th of April in view of the severe drought situation in the state.
Well, it's their legitimate right to go to Supreme Court, but I'm sure the highest court will take a realistic view that the state and the people are suffering from drought situation. If a decision was taken in this regard, I'm sure justice will be done. People are not getting water, they don't have a drop of water in certain areas and they are struggling. So IPL Governing Council and the BCCI, those who are making the itinerary, should take it to centers where water is in abundance and a situation of going to the court doesn't arise.
And now let's get you some more news from the world of sports in Sports Beat. Indian shuttler PV Sindhu, HS Pranoy and the pair of Jwala Gutta and Ashwini Ponappa will eye the semi-final spots in China Open Grand Badminton Tournament today. Sindhu will be up against the Thailand player, while HS Pranoy will face world number 1 from China. The team of Jwala and Ashwini, meanwhile, will meet the top-seeded Chinese duo. Top-seeded Indo-Swiss tennis pair of Sania Mirza and Martina Hingis have stormed into the semi-finals of the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix tournament. The duo outplayed the Czech Republic pair, and they will now face Sabine Lisicki of Germany and Lucy Safarova of Czech Republic in the semi-final. India's ace QS Pankaj Advani has reached the semi-finals of the Asian Snooker Championship in Qatar. Advani ousted Syrian player Karam Fatima, scoring 5-0. He will now take on a Thailand player in the semi-final. Rafael Nadal has advanced to the quarterfinals of the Barcelona Open, defeating fellow Spaniard Albert Montañez 6-2, 6-2 in straight sets. Nadal broke Montañez's serve 5 times to continue his superb start in the clay court season. And that's all we have for you on the news at 6. Thanks for joining us.